We don't have a seeker, right? It's in there. Which one? The non-preferred agenda. No, no, oh yeah, sorry. Thank you. You're the best. Oh yeah. Sophia, that is your committee. It is planning. Never mind, sorry. Hey, I need to talk to you about planning. Yeah, thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Binghamton City Council work session, 6 p.m. Wednesday, 1 November 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Rezinetti, Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilmember Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon is absent, and President Scringy.
Present.
That's 6 here, 1 absent. Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. This time the chair recognizes Councilwoman Rezinetti for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes from the October 18th, 2023 business meeting and the October 2023 special business meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motioned by Councilwoman Rezinetti, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. We'll move forward on with a public hearing. City of Binghamton will now hold a public hearing regarding RL 23-222, rezoning 9 parcels between Robinson Street and Walter Avenue from the I-3 heavy industrial to C1 service commercial district. Residents wishing to submit comments may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to the meeting at 1 p.m. on the day of to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov or in person at this meeting at this time. If you have any questions or follow-up, please contact the city clerk's office at 607-772-7005. Madam Clerk, were there anything in relation to the public hearing that was submitted electronically or by snail mail?
No, there wasn't.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This time, if anyone would like to come forward and speak with respect to the public hearing, please do so. You will have 5 minutes to speak. Please state your name and whether you work or reside in the city of Binghamton. Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. No,
Oh, sorry.
motion.
Motioned by Councilwoman Friedman, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. The public hearing is closed. Thank you, Councilwoman. This time we will move on to first read legislation, the preferred agenda. Council members, at this time, is there anyone that would like to remove anything that is on the preferred
Public hearing.
public comment? I'm stupid. Yep, I am. Sorry. At this time, we'll move forward with public comment. My apologies. I'm sorry. Residents wishing to submit public comment may do so electronically as well by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov or in person during this meeting at time. This is the general public comment now. Madam Clerk, was there anything electronically or snail mail submitted?
No, there wasn't.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, anyone wishing to speak about anything in general in relation to the public comment may do so at this time. You will have 5 minutes to speak. Please state your name and whether you work or reside in the city of Binghamton.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You can pull up a chair, sir. Yeah, absolutely. And my apologies, there should be a little square button on that microphone. If you press it, it'll turn green. And then if you just
Hello?
bring it up close, then we can hear you. Floor is yours, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me now? Oh,
Yes, sir.
hello, everyone. My name is Spencer Freer. I'm a resident here in Binghamton. I actually attend Binghamton University and live downtown. I just want to bring awareness to, so I live at 23 Henry, near Burger Mondays. Adjacent to that is the transportation hub where all the buses are. there's a single telephone pole that's sort of in my parking lot that just has never been trimmed. So I'm not sure why it hasn't, because all the other ones on the road have. So I'm not sure if it's a New York State electric and gas problem or if it's a city utility pole. But if that could just get trimmed just because it creates a blind spot, I almost accidentally hit someone the other day who was smoking on the other side of it. So if that could just get trimmed, that'd be fantastic. So that is all I really have to say. So
I'll talk to you after. We'll figure that out. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment? You can pull up another chair if you like. Evening, ma'am. Evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Please state your name for the record, whether you work or reside in the city of Binghamton. You have 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Turn on the mic. Turn on the mic.
It should be on. If you could just
Really?
bring it closer.
You
They
turned
work
it on.
really well as long as you're
Can you hear
2
us
inches
now?
away from it.
My name is Curtis Riley and I live in the city of Binghamton.
And my name is Alexi Burgess and I also live in.
Both Lexi and I currently live at Shenango Place Apartments on 7 Court Street in downtown Binghamton. And we're here tonight with a simple issue, which is the construction of the new parking garage on Henry and Water Street, directly adjacent to our apartment building. Since the semester began in late August, the construction of the garage has often begun around 7 in the morning, waking myself and other tenants in the building up at that time. This is something that usually happens at least once a week. Now, in the Binghamton City Code, in section 292-5, labeled prohibited acts, under paragraph 9 of subsection B, it states, no person shall operate or permit to be operated any tools or equipment used in construction, drilling, excavation, or demolition work between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. the following day or any time on Sunday, except that the provisions of this subsection shall not apply to emergency work. I can't imagine this construction is considered emergency work, so if that isn't the case, then this construction beginning at this time would to me be clearly a violation of the city's noise ordinance.
And there has been a break in the construction. Maybe noticed last week there was an approval of continuing the construction. And we also realized that winter is approaching, so we're not sure how much the construction is going to continue in the future. However, if we are correct in that this is violating the code, we do hope that in the future it can start at 8 p.m. or a.m. rather than prior to. So
Appreciate you both. I'll definitely make sure I follow up with you afterward. Thank you
Thank
so much.
That's not fun.
I like that. They cited the
That's
code.
fun.
That's how you know they're MPA students. Evening, sir. Thank you for joining us. Floor is yours.
Hello, how is everyone?
Good. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm Dylan Licata. I'm a resident of Binghamton and I go to Binghamton University. So I live on the west side of town on North Street. And I'm sure, as all of you know, there's sort of a lack of healthy food options on the west side. In fact, I think there's a lot more unhealthy food options. And I think this creates sort of an environment on that side of town where it becomes difficult, especially for lower income individuals, to have healthy, nutritious meals. So I think that should be a priority of the city in trying to find solutions for that. And yeah, that's all I really have. So thank you guys. Appreciate
Thank you. Appreciate you, sir. Evening, ma'am. How are you? Good. Thank you for joining us. Floor is yours.
Thank you for having us. So I just wanted to address the new housing program that the mayor announced in the first ward on Clinton Street. And although I totally noticed the mayor's effort for affordable housing, and I think it's really been making a difference the past couple of years, it's noticeable both physically and economically. One thing is that there is a huge problem of absentee landlords in Binghamton, people who live in New York City, they own property here. They're not as, they don't answer to tenants' needs or questions. They're not responsive. And they just have no stake in the community. They don't care for the development. So while community like development and affordable housing are both really important, and your priority of affordable housing is noticed, we definitely need to prioritize like local landlords. And I hope there are efforts to ensure that these landlords are from the area, or if not, that they are actually adhering to tenants' needs and investing in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Evening, sir. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Floor is yours.
So I'm Matt. I reside in Binghamton as well. Um, so there's like an article about Leah Webb. She just like revised the move over bill. And I don't know if this is like concerning to you guys or whatever, but there's a lot of like on mainly the highways, a lot of like there's like no space. So if someone gets pulled over, a lot of the times they're kind of I've seen it before, they're in the middle of the road or kind of like halfway on the shoulder. So I think there's just like no safety for either officer and person being pulled over. So I think that's just like something that needs to be just like addressed.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Anyone else wish to speak during public comment? Evening, ma'am. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm
Good.
very well.
Thank you
and
for joining
very
us.
Chilly.
Floor is yours.
I love upstate New York weather. All right. Good evening. On Monday, the 23rd of October at 4:45 p.m., right after I left work, in a 14-minute special business meeting, the Binghamton City Council voted 5-2 in favor of building a parking garage on Water Street for $26.5 million, which includes taking out bonds not to exceed $19.5 million. Insert evil Austin Powers laugh. Dr. Evil laugh. The national average range in the United States for a parking garage is 7.5 to 12 million. The high end at 20 million. So why do we need such a high end garage here in Binghamton? A very curious question. Why are we subsidizing Binghamton's political bedfellows? Why are we subsidizing something that is going to eventually, or that's going to be privately owned? Now, for a $26.5 million capital project, typically an architect's fees would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10% of the entire project. However, City Council is paying the architect firm less than $200,000 for a $26.5 million project? Talk about a contractor's dream. In what capital project is that even feasible? I've never been a part of one. I've never toured a work site. It's never happened. For a project of this magnitude, a reputable architect firm would be commanding upwards of 10%. So what's really going on? Why did you have to ram this through at 4:45 in the afternoon in 14 minutes? The paperwork isn't in order. There are a multitude of mistakes in the full environmental assessment form. It has not been updated to reflect that this is just a parking garage capital project, since thankfully the school board made the best decision for the students of the city. Why are there Boscov's roof fees for the architect? And the full environmental assessment form on page 5, C3 is blank. Also on page 5, D still lists the 5-story parking garage plus 5-story residential units. Page 6, yes is checked next to the box, new residential units. Page 7, D is blank. Page 9, K is blank. Page 10, N is blank. Sloppy, 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 sloppy. What are you doing with our tax dollars? $19.5 million bond. Who wins in this? Which of your friends are you patting on the back? If you live here, for those of you at home and those of us here, ask your city council person, why won't you spend the money on things that make it good for everyone? Things that actually improve the quality of our lives, like the quality of our air, quality of our water, affordable housing, community programs to support a stronger city. The city has lived too long under the cronyship that has historically defined our state. Corruption in Albany, it's a line in a Broadway play. Why can't you all understand that if you improve the quality of life for everybody in this city, our city will be more attractive to others. Our city will be more attractive for those of us who live here. So I have an idea that, I steal from Dr. King. Be radical. Be radical with your love. Be radical in your use of city resources, of our resources. Be radical for us who are already here living in our city. So all of us who live here need to be more involved.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. And we need to recognize that on November 7th, we need a change. We need people who are actually going to help our city, to build our city for the future, for everyone, and not just those of us who are privileged with our degrees and our intergenerational wealth. Well, not me, but you all, clearly. Do something good for the city. You'll be surprised at how good you sleep at night. I know I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak during public comment? Evening, ma'am. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Good to see you again. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dominique Rice with DAR Developers, and I am a local real estate developer here in Binghamton looking to do affordable housing. I was fortunate enough today to spend the whole day in Syracuse with many members of the city, the mayor, the deputy mayor, and we had a wonderful day with BIPOC developers. Events like this are being held in Buffalo and Syracuse and lots of other places. And I just wanted to express my sadness for the lack of support that I feel like as a BIPOC developer that we're not seeing here in Binghamton. Oftentimes we're saying, let's bring fresh people in and let's do development and let's talk about affordable housing. But other municipalities are making the effort to not just bring in developers from across the state to talk about it, but to also bring financial institutions that support affordable housing. And I just wanted to share that as a developer, when we see the other work that other people are doing, and we know when things are done sloppily and forms aren't filled out correctly. We know our numbers and we know things aren't being done in projects the way that they should be. And to feel like we're not getting the same level of support as other projects, it makes it really hard to want to continue in Binghamton, where other municipalities are like, come up the road. We'll do RFPs and you can work with our land bank. And they're very excited for developers such as us to come there. And we just wish that we had that same level of support here in Binghamton, because this is our home and this is where we live. And it would really sadden me to have to go into other markets where this is where we really want to be in an area that we really want to grow and support. So I just wanted to share that today and hope with everyone can hear that and start talking about how we can, not just for ourselves, but attract other developers that are doing really cool projects all across the state that aren't coming to Binghamton because there aren't RFPs and there aren't opportunities here when we should be really looking at those opportunities.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment? Excellent. Thank you very, very much for everyone who came down and shared their perspectives with us. This time we'll move forward with first read legislation with the preferred agenda. Council, is there anyone that would like to remove anything from the preferred agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Introductory Resolution 23-86, considered in Public Works and Parks and Recreation. A resolution authorizing the mayor to accept funds from the Broome County for the First Ward Senior Center Recreation Leader salary for the 2024 budget year.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council discussion. I'll just add in my capacity as the representative for the first district. I'm very excited for this. This is a great co-program that we are working on with Broome County. So it's great to see that there'll be more recreation focus at the senior center over down on Clinton Street. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the preferred agenda as submitted. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. Clerk will call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Resonetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilmember Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Scringy.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Introductory Resolution 23-86 passes. At this time, we'll move forward with the non-preferred agenda. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Resonetti for the purposes of a seeker in relation to Introductory Ordinance 23-143.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following seeker motions are in reference to the legislation before us. Introductory Ordinance 23-143, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Official Zoning Map of the City of Binghamton to rezone multiple properties between Robinson Street and Walter Avenue. I make a motion to declare City Council as lead agency for a proposed amendment to the official zoning map of the City of Binghamton to rezone 9 parcels, including 4 Montgomery Street, tax parcel number 144.A4-1-23, 71 Robinson Street, tax parcel number 144.83-4-2.1, 75 Robinson Street, tax parcel number 144.83-4-5.1, 85 Robinson Street, tax parcel number 144.83-4-2.2, 89 Robinson Street, tax parcel number 144.84-1-25, 33 Whitney Ave, tax parcel number 144.84-1-4, 33 Whitney Ave, tax parcel number 144.84-1-3, 39 Whitney Ave, tax parcel number 144.84-1-2, and 41 Whitney Ave, tax parcel number 144.84-1-1. From I3 heavy industrial to C1 service commercial to better reflect neighborhood character and allow dwelling units to be included in any future development.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Resonetti, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Councilwoman Resonetti, please.
I'll make a motion to list the proposed action as an unlisted action under seeker.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Resonetti, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Councilwoman Resonetti.
I'll make a motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. The proposed action is the rezoning of 9 parcels from industrial to commercial. The rezoning is supported by the comprehensive plan and reflects the uses already located at this site. The rezoning will allow mixed uses, the majority of which are significantly less intensive than the heavy industrial uses currently permitted. Less than 25 acres are being rezoned. Therefore, this is an unlisted section. The lead agency has reviewed an environmental assessment form and the criteria contained in 6 NYCRR 617.7 to identify the relevant areas of environmental concern, thoroughly analyze the identified relevant areas of environmental concern, and determine that the action will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment for the following reasons. The proposed action is recommended by the comprehensive plan and will not conflict with any zoning regulations. The proposed action will not impair the character or quality of the existing community. The proposed action will not have an impact on a critical environmental area. The proposed action will not impact traffic or infrastructure, energy use, or water and sewer infrastructure. The proposed action will not negatively impact important historic resources. The proposed action will not result in an adverse impact to natural resources, erosion and flooding, or human health. And many of the hazardous uses currently permitted in the I3 heavy industrial district will no longer be permitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Rosanetti, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. Clerk will call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Ressenetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilmember Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Scringy.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeker passes. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Rosanetti for the purposes of a motion concerning introductory ordinance 23-143.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask your unanimous consideration for introductory ordinance 23-143. An ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Binghamton to rezone 9 parcels between Robinson Street and Walter Ave from I3 heavy industrial to C1 service commercial.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Rosanetti, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. Discussion.
Call the question, Mr. President?
Question's been called. The clerk will call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Ressenetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilmember Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Scringy.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Introductory ordinance 23-143 passes. This time we'll move on to communication from council members. Chair recognizes Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for everybody that spoke tonight, especially the students and young people. It's always good to hear what your concerns are and what you're thinking. So I encourage you to come back and talk. It's always enlightening for me to hear what you have to say about our city and what can be improved. So that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Rosanetti.
Mr. President, I want to echo what Councilman Scanlon just said. Thank you to all who came here tonight. I hope to see you again. Just a couple quick things. It's the 1st of November, which is hard to believe. As other months, there are always events that are being highlighted in each month, and there's plenty. I do want to focus though on one that is it's Hunger Awareness Month. And I want us all to be mindful about what that really means and how that impacts folks in our community. Think about ways you can help, support, donate, whatever we can do as a community to help one another. I wanted to say thank you to all of those who responded to my annual supply drive for victims of domestic violence this past Saturday at Breck Park. As always, I'm humbled at the support. Thank you very much for that. And I guess that's it. It's we got a taste today about what winter is going to be like. So hunker down, bundle up, and get ready and be safe. Have a good night.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Again, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. We love when we have engagement. We're all about hearing the voices of the people and responding to the needs that we hear when we receive such, not just receiving it. So thank you, and continue to use your voice. Use your voice. November 7th is a big day, so I hope you all are registered and you remember to cast your vote. Early voting is now available. Unfortunately, you will not be looking for my name, but I encourage you to vote as your heart desires. This is, as we know, November, and as my colleague mentioned, we always highlight Awareness Month, particularly those related to health, because many of us are in that sector. I would like to alert everyone that this is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and that's critical because, as we know, Binghamton is an aging city. We know that we can assist by knowing the warning signs so that we are able to support those that are aging in place and provide the necessary structure to, again, alert the family, initiate any type of therapy and treatment if needed immediately. I also want to say happy Veterans Day to all of those who served. We won't be back before that occurs. So again, kudos to you. Also, happy Diwali, which will also occur before we return back into our seats here in City Hall. Regarding issues in the third district, I thank all of my constituents who have been calling about the bed and breakfast that's up for discussion on November 7th. I would encourage everyone that has comments about the approval of this potential new business entity, any comments, positive or negative, to email them to the planning department, or you can email them to me so that I can forward it appropriately. As I share with everyone, there was a time when I used to collect the information off of my social media page and then email it, but there was a comment once that we don't even know where she got that from. And then someone said, well, she got it off of social media, as if that invalidates the comment, which is not true. We use all of our devices and tools to gather comments. But if they want to see who writes it, I encourage everyone to now email so that I can forward it and we won't be concerned about the validity of the comments I receive. Again, the meeting to discuss the bed and breakfast and other planning issues will be November 7th, which is also that great election day. It's going to be at 5:15 here. So if you have your comments, we can forward that appropriately before the meeting occurs. And finally, although this is not happening in my district, I have to highlight the naming of a building after a woman that motivated and inspired the entire community. Miss Majida Razak is going to have one of the buildings, one of the newer buildings that's being developed, for homeless and housing assistance program under Greater Opportunities. And on November 8th, there's going to be a ribbon cutting to recognize her and celebrate the naming of the building. For those of you that don't know her, she was a big advocate here in the city, made major moves for minoritized communities particularly, and spent several years on the CDBG committee, the CDAC committee, I'm sorry. CDAC committee. And again, moved mountains before her passing due to COVID. So that's going to be a great event. Again, that's on November 8th in conjunction with Greater Opportunities for Broome. So that concludes my report. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scaringi. Thank you again to everyone who came to speak. I was joking in the beginning when I said, oh, you all are making the meeting longer. These are my favorite kind of meetings when there are actually people from the public who come and let us know what's going on. So District 4 encompasses downtown and the north side of Binghamton. So I'm your council representative, some of you who spoke. So I've got business cards for you. You can contact me directly if you have anything else in the future that you would like to discuss for the next 2 months. Yeah. So, which also brings me to election day. Early voting is happening. One of the early voting sites is in District 4 at the library. So you can vote any day up until, I think, not next Monday, but then you can, of course, vote on election day. I also wanted to bring up that I am hosting a community cleanup in conjunction with the Firefighters Union on Saturday, November 11th at 10 o'clock. We will provide gear and garbage bags and refreshments. So that will be we'll start at the fire headquarters at 235 Court Street. And the last thing that I wanted to bring up, which I think is probably not a surprise to anyone who was present at the last set of meetings, is that I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed that the 2 pieces of legislation that I introduced did not make it onto the agenda. And every city council member has a right to sign on to and sponsor whatever legislation they want. But I would love to hear on the record the thoughts of my colleagues who did not choose to sponsor my legislation. I thought these were two kind of slam dunk pieces of legislation. And I'm not just saying that because I was the one who introduced them. They were, for the most part, not crowdsourced, but worked on in conjunction with others. So just to catch y'all up to speed, one of them was a financial disclosure. So we know who is benefiting from contracts and financial awardings. I guess maybe that's not a word, but financial awards. The city is not right now required, elected officials and appointed mayoral appointees are not required to disclose their financial ties. So that is a significant block in transparency of local government. The other one was to fill our empty Human Rights Commission that has been empty for the past 7 years. It would change the nominating and appointment procedures. And again, that's really disappointing that, I mean, if we say we want to keep the Human Rights Commission empty, does that mean we don't like human rights? Because that's the message that is sent by those actions, and actions speak louder than words. A lot of the concerns, I took them at face value. I brought you answers to your questions, and a lot of them were kind of, dare I say, moot points because the commission already exists. Whether you like it or not, we have a Human Rights Commission. It just has been empty. So I'm not quite sure why we want to continue to have that remain empty. So again, I understand it's within your right to sponsor or not sponsor legislation that you want, but I really would love to hear on the record a justification for why those two pieces of legislation were not sponsored. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was proud to sponsor both pieces of legislation, and I think that, especially if a council member brings something forward and something of this magnitude, it should be at least given a vote at a business meeting so that the community can see how we vote. You know, otherwise then we're sort of hiding things by not bringing it to the floor. The couple of things went through my mind as everybody was speaking tonight, and that I'm proud to be in a city where we allow public speaking at a meeting. Most cities don't. The county does not. You're not allowed to just go and speak to the county legislature. And it was great to have the young people here to speak as well. And it's interesting what went through my mind is that, you know, Matt Ryan was mayor when they brought forward the Human Rights Commission. And when the kids were speaking, sorry, calling you kids, but when the young residents were speaking here, it reminded me of that Matt Ryan, he's now running for district attorney, but the first city council meeting I was ever at, I was 19 and Matt was 20, and Matt had a dog named Dagmar, and Matt didn't have a car at that time, and the dog went everywhere with Matt. So the city council was going to pass the leash law, which is still in effect for the dogs, because they used to just, you didn't have to have a leash on them. So Matt said, Joey, let's go down to city council meeting down in City Hall. I said, sure. He said he was going to speak about the law. So we went down and Matt got to speak. It was at the old City Hall. And he spoke against this law about the leash law. And he quoted Bob Dylan's song that dogs run free, why don't we? I remember that. And, you know, little did we know that one day he would be the mayor of Binghamton and I would be on city council. And so maybe we had a future mayor here tonight talking. So that's it for me. Thanks very much.
Long way around to get there.
Councilman Burns, did you get there? Excellent. Well done, sir. Well done. Thank you, Council. It's always an honor and a privilege. Chair recognizes Councilman Strawn.
Thank you, President Scringy. Not much tonight. I do appreciate everybody coming too. I do also hope we can work with the local. I mean, everything local is better in my opinion. So I'm hoping that we can really. Housing's been a major issue, so we'll have to explore the path to make those contacts and make something happen. But it would be a shame to see this group, flourish. And I hope they flourish everywhere, but to not do that here would be a shame. So I hope that we can move that forward in some way or set up the proper meetings to get that started. I do want to thank traffic and BPD helping me set up one of those signs to say you're going faster than you should on Tompkins Street, being out there this week and realizing how the major accidents over there and traffic moving way faster than it should be. So it's a small thing, but it did show the residents that we're trying to do something to make a change. I encourage, at our Southside neighborhood meeting forum last week, we had a good turnout and a good robust discussion with the 4 candidates. And, I just did mention that while we work on these big things, there's important small things that we can do, whether it's, and the days are getting shorter, they'll get even shorter this weekend. Don't forget to turn your clocks back. But streetlights, let us know. I mean, they're little things that while we work on the big things, but streetlights is a big one. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about code issues and things like that, but whether it's traffic or lights or, your street lights, little things that we can make a difference immediately while we work on some of these bigger issues are things that we can make changes and see positive impact in a very short period of time while we, like I said, work on other things. So encourage you to reach out to all of us on some of those issues that we can move quickly. With that, have a good night.
Thank you, Councilman. A little bit more here than I thought, but that's a good thing. First, I definitely want to thank all of you who came down, whether you are speaking here for the first time or a veteran, so to speak. I really appreciate it, and I know we all do. As it relates to our MPA students who are here, I want to thank them for coming down. I definitely wrote down some of the things that you had mentioned in relation to the noise ordinance, as well as the, I believe it was 23, Henry, in relation to the poll and a few others. So I did write all those down. So I'll definitely come and follow up afterward with each and every one of you. So I really appreciate that. The BU family suffered a very big loss this week. And I have to say, whether it was grad school or teaching there, in my years there, I've never seen the campus so it's different. It's quiet and we're feeling and we're hurting. This was a big one. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the deceased, and just keep them in your prayers. It's been a difficult week. So wanna wish good luck, if you haven't already, obviously, to all the BU and the SUNY Broome students. I think you guys are right around midterms right now, right? If that hasn't hit up yet. So study hard, get some rest. Definitely want to talk about Election Day next Tuesday. It's kind of shocking. In the year 2023, there are still countries in this world where people can't vote. There are actually countries that aren't full-fledged democracies. And it's a big civic duty. So I don't care what your position is. I don't care who you like, who you don't like. Just make sure you get out there and vote. The 11th, I believe it is, it's also Veterans Day. I want to thank everyone who is serving our country, regardless of, obviously, the branch that they're in. There's a lot going on in the world right now. I even know myself, I'm in the bucket next year. So there's a lot going on. So just if you see a vet, just thank them for their service. Just thank them for their service. It's not even for what they've done, but what may come in front of them. So want to talk about some specific things in the first district and then follow up on some of the comments that were made during public comment, as well as with my colleagues during our communication section. So first off, definitely want to thank the city and DPW for getting some really needed signage up on Ridge Street, over up on Mount Prospect. It's been needed for a while, and had a meeting with constituents that live up that way over up by the golf course, and it was nice seeing everybody and starting to move some stuff there forward. So I just really want to thank the city for that. Number two, I also, as we all know, we have a lot of train track bridges in the city, a lot of train track bridges that quite frankly look horrific, to put it nicely. And I do want to thank Mayor Cram, as well, all of you on this body. I may be wrong, but I think I'm the most senior serving member as a function of time on this body. And I know, as well as all of you, that's something that we've been definitely talking about for years. It was a really, really big push to sponsor, and I think we voted unanimously on the legislation to allocate $50,000 to get a private engineering firm in. And if you've gotten a chance to walk around in the area of the train track bridge that goes over Glenwood by Clinton Street, it's great to see the work that's coming up of that. And one of the main reasons why that's been so difficult is because those train track bridges are actually zoned and owned at the federal level as it relates to the railroad companies. So this is a really, really big turnaround, and I know a lot of our residents are happy about that. They cannot get that work done enough, but it's really exciting. So just want to say thank you for that. There was Councilwoman Freeman. Thank you for bringing those two proposals forward. I really appreciate that. And I hope you know that, as I promised everybody at the beginning of this year, that I would give it the respect that it was due. As you know, I think even the HRC one, I think this might be the second time you actually brought it forward. Made sure that we had an RL number and had that brought forward right away. So as it relates to the HRC, I've stated this on the record before, and I know you said you wanted to hear it, so I'll say it again. I don't support a local human rights commission, bluntly and directly. Reasons why. Number one, it puts the city in a libelous position. And the reason why it puts the city in a libelous position is because every employee of this city, with the exception of an elected official or a mayoral appointee, is in a collective bargaining unit. And when an unrecognized contractual body, right? So the two parties are the union and the city. It is codified in those contracts. It is collectively bargained as to what each of their respective bargaining units are to do if they have a concern and they have something to bring forward. I know on my 8 years on this body, minus 2 months, I have had individuals in different representative areas come to me with something. And the first thing I do is I bring it to Corp Counsel, look at the specific contract and what that is, and move them in a supportive manner in that direction. That is why I did not sponsor the legislation. If it came forward and it earns that support, I will vote no for that reason, plain and simple. As it relates to financial disclosure, I served as the president of the Broome County Ethics Board for 5 years, appointed both by a Republican and Democrat county executive. The reason why Broome County has a financial disclosure form is because by New York state law, Broome County has more than 50,000 residents. It's required. That's it. Now, I will not speak for the county because it's not my right or my position or place, but I am hard pressed to believe that that requirement would still be there if we were a much less populated county. That's just my perspective with my 5 years of experience. In addition to that, I know there have been plenty of situations with colleagues on both sides of the aisle on this body and the prior body that I served on, where there was some sort of potential conflict of interest. And that avenue exists as it relates to recusing oneself from a particular vote. And I think it's also important to acknowledge and remember as well, by New York state law, recusals are required if there is a direct compensatory relationship. If that is not there, a recusal is not needed. So, to give you that respect, those are my positions on those two requests for legislation. But I genuinely appreciate that you brought them forward because I know you're passionate about them. But again, I've stated those on the record. I know my other colleagues have as well, but I wanted to give you that respect because you asked. So thank you. As it relates to the parking garage, so a couple of things. The parking garage is a city asset. The reason why we are spending the amount of money to fix that parking garage is primarily two reasons. As we all know, number one, it's a city-owned asset. And number two, that city-owned asset also has an important geographic aspect related to it with respect to Boscov's. Over the last number of years, working with Boscov's as well as dealing with the deteriorating conditions of the specific Water Street parking garage, we have worked, and this body has pretty much almost unanimously every time voted on legislation to give a 1-year extension to Boscov's in relation to their placement in the building. That hasn't been unanimous every time, as I said earlier, but it has received a majority every time. And I'm pretty sure it's been more than a simple majority every time as well. I will also add that the $7 million of ARPA-related funds that is being put toward this project was unanimously allocated for that parking garage in the city general fund by all 7 members of this body 2 years ago. So this is not something new. The dynamic of the parking garage has also changed. As it stands right now, we are moving forward without the governance structure, which was a genuine concern of what was in place originally. Number two, as it relates to what the average cost of a parking garage may be, I really appreciate the citation of that statistic, and I apologize, I didn't get exactly what those numbers were that you had mentioned, but I appreciate that research on that. Respectfully, I would just consider that there are 7,000,003 factors that come into that, least of which is labor cost. So here's a perfect geographic example. New York State is a state that requires union use in that labor, or at least that same minimum union charge. If you compare us just to a state like, say, South Carolina, those labor costs can move a project of similar size and similar nature from South Carolina to New York upwards of anywhere of 10 to 30%, because those rates are in small change. There are also issues in relation to time, production cost, distribution, materials, and many other things, least of which economic conditions and where interest rates are. FOM's Yep, no, engineering fees are important as well. Totally understand that. But again, whatever that proportionality is, well, that's a great point. I appreciate that. So with respect to the parking garage, I appreciate all the input on it, but I would also be incredibly mindful that the dynamic of that project has incredibly changed after seeking much positive public input. So I really appreciate that. And the fact that it passed in a bipartisan manner. And so I appreciate every one of you. And also, lastly, forgive me, Dominique, thank you. I appreciate the 3 meetings that you and I and Haja have had the opportunity to have. And I would welcome all of you to have an opportunity, if you so can, given obviously respective work schedules and stuff. I had an opportunity to have 2 conference calls, both with Dominique and Haja. I think one was an hour, which I cut short. That was my fault because I had a work meeting to go to. The other one was only about half an hour, and then we actually got to Zoom for over 2 hours. It was almost 3. Yes, thank you for that. So it was great to hear that input and all that work that they had put forward. So thank you for that. Those are the totality of my comments. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Rossanetti, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And then I'll come right back.